Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Maspreshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Which verse number?
Today is verse 11.
Can I see the fourth canto, part 1? Sastam Atre Apatyatvam Prita Prapta Anasuyaya Avikshikim Alarkaya Pralada Abidya Uchivan Shastam Atrer Apatyatvam Brita Prapto Nasuyaya Anvikshim Alarkaya Praladidbaya Uchivan Shastam Atrer Patyatvam Rita Prapto Nasuyaya Anvikshim Alarkaya Praladidaya Uchivan Shastam Atrer Patyatvam Rita Prapto Nasuyaya Anvikshim Alarkaya Praladibdaya Uchivan. Somebody else, one more.
Anvikshikim alarkaya Palada Vidya Uchivam
Sastam, the sixth one. Atre of Atri. Apatyatvam, sonship. Yeah, that's right. Say it. Sonship. That's right. Prita, being prayed for. Prapta, obtained. Anasuyaya, by Anasuya. Anvikshikim, on the subject of transcendence. Alarkaya, unto Alarka. Pralada Abidya, unto Pralad and others. Uchivan spoke. The sixth incarnation of the Purusha was the son of the sage Atri. He was born from the womb of Anasuya, who prayed for an incarnation. He spoke on the subject of transcendence to Alarka, Prahlad, and others, Yadu, Haiheya, etc. Purport by ISKCON's BBT founder, Acharya Jagadguru Patitapavana, Srila Prabhupada. The Lord incarnated himself as Dattatreya, the son of Rishi Atri and Anasuya. The history of the birth of Dattatreya as an incarnation of the Lord is mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana in connection with the story of the devoted wife. It is said there that Anasuya, the wife of Rishi Atri, prayed before the Lords Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva as follows. My lords, if you are pleased with me, and if you desire me to ask from you some sort of blessings, then I pray that you combine together to become my son. This was accepted by the lords, and as Dattatreya, the Lord expounded the philosophy of the spirit soul and especially instructed Alarka, Prahlad, Yadu, Haiheya, etc. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unvitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadanti Tam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuddhapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pavijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhakdevam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakavicham Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Jayatam Surato Pangur Mamadab Patergati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Brindaranya Kalpadrumada Śrīmad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Śrīmad Radha Shula Govinda Devo Prastavapi Sevyamanu Smarami Śrīman Rasarasarambi Bamsi Bhattatatastita Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinata Sriyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasadubhyevacha Patitaram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shastam Atrer Apatyatvam Vritta Prapto Nasuyaya Anvikshikim Alarkaya Praladibdaya Uchivan. The sixth incarnation of the Purusha was the son of the sage Atri. He was born from the womb of Anasuya, who prayed for an incarnation. He spoke on the subject of transcendence to Alarka, Prahlad, and others, Yadu, Haiheya, etc. So this is referring to the incarnation of the Lord as Dattatreya, the son of Atri Rishi and Anasuya. So Prabhupada is describing the appearance of Dattatreya by mentioning the Brahmanda Purana. And if one was to look at the very beginning of the fourth canto in the first chapter, you would find more insight into the appearance of Dattatreya. This is by beginning on verse 17 of that chapter 1. Maitreya Muni said, when Lord Brahma ordered Atri Muni to create generations after marrying Anasuya, Atri Muni and his wife went to perform severe austerities in the valley of the mountain known as Riksha. So the Prajapatis, or the first sons of Lord Brahma, it's described that the Lord Brahma, you could read Lord Brahma's prayers for creative energy in the 9th chapter of the 3rd canto. He was all alone, and the ultimate purpose of the universe is not is to give conditioned souls a chance to rectify themselves and ultimately be able to gain liberation from this material world altogether and go back home, back to Godhead, reinstating themselves in their constitutional position in service to the Supreme Lord. So for that, there is an initial period when this universe is manifest, that there be procreation. So you read and you can hear how these Prajapatis and their wives, they created all the different species of life, and at that time they were able to create large numbers of children. And because this was what was wanted and what was needed, this wasn't wanton sexual gratification, but this was extremely responsible activity. Prabhupada gave to us that when a man and woman devotees in the properly situated in the Grihastha ashram wish to combine together to have sexual union, the purpose being to have a child, they must perform the Garbhadan Samskara. The Garbhadan Samskara is actually an elaborate ritual, if one was to understand it fully. But Prabhupada gave the essence that both husband and wife should chant 50 rounds minimum of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra before they come together to have union. This is to put the consciousness of both parties in the most proper position, the most elevated position, so that ultimately a godly soul will be sent or attracted to take shelter of the womb of that woman. So not everyone is, people, living entities are in different consciousness. When they quit their body, they take with them the impressions of the subtle mind to the next life. One who has performed predominantly demoniac activities will take birth with the same demoniac mentality, whereas one who had been cultivating godly activities, they will take birth with a predominantly godly mentality. So it is the great ambition of a mother and father, particularly a mother is mentioned, to give birth to a saintly personality, one who can actually do good for human society by distributing the knowledge of pure God consciousness without adulteration or compromise. So here it's mentioned, Lord Brahma ordered Atri Muni to create progeny, and after being married with Anasuya, it's described in one place that the names of all of the wives of the first Prajapatis are named, and I believe it's Maitreya narrating. It says just hearing their names increases one's punya or piety, because they're such saintly personalities. Wow. Atri Muni and his wife went to perform severe austerities. What to speak of 50 rounds on that particular day, but one should be, not that one comes to that position after being living just like wanton foolishness, okay, today we'll bite the bullet and we'll chant 50 rounds. But over a long period of time, sometimes people think that they become disappointed in the process of bhakti yoga, thinking that where's the result? Just like in cheap so-called imitative spiritual knowledge, you can do this and you get some quick result, and then by getting that so-called quick result, you believe, oh, this must be the real thing. But devotional service, it doesn't seem so. Actually, this is a question that was asked at the end of the Bhagavatam. Why is it that the followers of Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva, he's distributing Mayavad philosophy through Sankaracharya. Why is it that they become rich, opulent, famous, well-to-do, influential, etc., especially in this Kali Yuga, whereas the devotees of Lord Vishnu, they remain poverty-stricken, they're in very small number, etc., etc. And the ultimate reason given is that devotional service is a very rare thing to find in this world. We see how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would not compromise with bogus philosophies such as Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, and other, yogis, avatars, etc. No way. And even sometimes his people would say, if you just compromise your message just a little bit, then all of these different bogus gurus and their disciples would come and surrender to you and elect you as their universal head. But he wouldn't do it. He said that real truth is rare to find in this material world, and to convince even one person of the ultimate truth cannot be done so without being prepared to shed hundreds and hundreds of gallons of blood. And even if millions of years would go by working so hard in that way, if one could affect the change in just one jiva, then that whole effort would be worth it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because the nature of this material world, it's Durga Devi. It's a place where people, actually Bhaktisiddhanta in one place called the dungeon, Durga Devi's dungeon, this material world. If one is thrown into a deep, dark dungeon, one's ability to get out is practically impossible. Unless a very secret agent of the liberating party can somehow do some type of mission impossible kind of scenario to get you out, without the dungeon's watch guards, not only, slamming you to the ground, but also your savior also would more or less lose his freedom also. So that is the confidential nature of devotional service and the glory of the emancipator, the bona fide acharya, spiritual master, pure devotee. So they went to perform severe austerities in the valley of the mountain known as Riksha. In that mountain valley flows a river named Nirvindya. On the bank of that river are many ashoka trees and other plants full of palasa flowers. There is always the sweet sound of water flowing from a waterfall. And Prabhupada was brought, after coming back from London, to the Juhu Beach Temple, which was still under construction in September 1977. And they asked Prabhupada, "Are you disturbed by the constant hammering and banging and chipping away at marble?" And Prabhupada said, "No, it's like music." So in the same way, the ripping and tearing of paper and boxes to make the Shaptarishi is just like the beautiful sound of a waterfall, right?
We were making bhakti stacks.
What do you call that?
Bhakti stacks.
Bhakta?
Bhakti stacks. Beginner stacks.
But there's 3 books there. We have to call it Triyuga.
Triyuga. All right. Triyuga stacks. One of the reasons.
Triyuga Mahaprabhu stacks.
All right. Triyuga Mahaprabhu. Let's go. Stacks.
The husband and wife reached that beautiful place. There the great sage concentrated his mind by the yogic breathing exercises, and thereby controlling all attachment, he remained standing on one leg only, eating nothing but air, for 100 years. He was thinking, so here it's mentioned that here it's mentioned in Brahmanda Purana that Anasuya, his wife, prayed before Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. I pray that you combine together to become like my son. But here in the Bhagavatam, some information about what Atri Muni was thinking. And kind of shows that the wife had a little more, grasp on the situation. He was thinking, may the Lord of the universe, of whom I have taken shelter, kindly be pleased to offer me a son exactly like him. Purport. It appears that the great sage Atri Muni had no specific idea of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, he must have been conversant with the Vedic information that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just like the neophyte devotee, he doesn't have a clear understanding of how Krishna is ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's not envious of the principle that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he has faith in the words of the spiritual master, and what to speak of, and how Srila Prabhupada would defend the Bhagavatam and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Many great personalities and authorities have accepted. So who are you to not accept? Sure. And even Sankaracharya, who was deputed ultimately as Lord Shiva, create a philosophy that will deviate the human race from me in this. So he created this Mayavad philosophy. So he gave a hint to his so-called disciples at the end. He said, Bhaja Govinda, Mudha Mate. What will be the use of your so-called, what is the exact English of that?
The word German.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
how's it exactly said?
Do bhajan of Govinda, do bhajan of Govinda.
No. What good will your grammatical riddles or so-called speculations do for you at the time of death? Actually, Mayavad philosophy, Mayavad leads one to inert life, to stand as a tree. Because the idea is merging into God's existence. So the trees are already merged in God's existence. And because it's such an offense against the personality of Godhead to decry that he has activities, that he's a person, then you just stand as a tree for that offense.
The translation is, you intellectual fools, just worship Govinda, just worship Govinda, just worship Govinda. Your grammatical knowledge and word jugglery will not save you at the time of death.
That's right. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very kind and lenient with all different types of jagais and madais, blasphemers, and jagai and madai. They what was it? They did rogues, woman hunters, murderers, etc. But they did not. What was it that they did not? But when Lord Chaitanya heard that even some of his dearest devotees had been implicated or had taken part in associating with Mayavads and with Mayavad philosophy, he would be prepared to banish them from his association for millions of births. So detrimental and devastating to actual truth is Mayavad philosophy. Practically, it's described that the demons take birth in Kali Yuga in the form of Mayavad Brahmins. That's described in the first canto. So no sane man would take part with this philosophy whatsoever. So Atri Muni, as a very elevated and great personality, still he had no specific idea of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, he must have been conversant with the Vedic information that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the creator of the universe, from whom everything emanated, who maintains this created manifestation, and in whom the entire manifestation is conserved after dissolution. Yato vai imani bhutani. Tattvanaya Upanishad. The Vedic mantras give us information of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so Atri Muni concentrated his mind upon that Supreme Personality of Godhead, even without knowing his name, just to beg from him a child exactly on his level. So actually maybe Anasuya put the idea or shared her desire with Atri Muni and accord with Atri Muni's own understanding. He's begging like this now, or desiring like this now. That kind of devotional service in which knowledge of God's name is lacking is also described in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says that 4 kinds of men with backgrounds of pious activities come to him asking for what they need. Atri Muni wanted a son exactly like the Lord, and therefore he is not supposed to have been a pure devotee, because he had a desire to be fulfilled. Prabhupada says in one place, how is it? That if we desire the Lord to come down here and be our son, that is very difficult. But if we desire to have the Lord as our son in the spiritual world, by going back home, back to Godhead, that is counted as pure devotional service.
That's amazing.
Actually, Although he wanted a son exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this desire was material because he did not want the personality of God in himself, but only a child exactly like him. That's the actual point. Not that I want a child like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's material, but I want the Supreme Personality of Godhead as my son. Even to come down into this world as the Supreme Personality of God. That's how I wanted to say it. That's correct. If he had desired the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his child, he would have been completely free of material desires because he would have wanted the Supreme Absolute Truth. But because he wanted a similar child, his desire was material. Thus, Atri Muni cannot be counted among the pure devotees. And it's going to be revealed here as we go on that he didn't have he had some confusion as to the position of Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. And we say that that's one of the misunderstandings we need to be cleared from so that we can chant the pure holy name, to consider, how is it? Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, refresh my memory. What is the second offense?
Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to independent of the holy names of Lord Vishnu.
Which also means to not have a clear understanding of the difference between the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness. That's why it's described in the first canto that the real benefit that the human being can get is by cultivating the mode of goodness under the authority and jurisdiction of Vishnu. So that's why devotees, Vaishnavas, they not only practice the mode of goodness, but they practice the mode of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, by engaging non-stop in pure devotional service, pure devotional activities, which sure and steady completely clarify everything. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Baba Mahadevagri Nivarpanam. This Harinam Sankirtan movement is the supreme manifestation of supreme pure devotional service. So by continually engaging it, then all anarthas and material desires and unwanted things are cleansed completely from the heart. Glory to this Sankirtan movement, which cleanses completely cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years. It's interesting. It says that by regularly attending class in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, all that is troublesome to heart is practically destroyed to nil. But Harinam Sankirtan, all anyway, one and the same thing. I'm just noting the slight difference there. In other words, it's recommended not that we read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 24 hours a day, which is also a very good thing to do, but we should engage in chanting Hare Krishna, Sadahari. It's one and the same thing anyway. But if we were to go out and loudly be reading the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam continuously, I mean, interesting.
Yeah.
I remember in Japan in 1998 with the very avant-garde devotee Radhika Raman, who maybe some of you saw it in the black and white picture on Downtown Crossing, Boston, with a 20-year-old Kaliya Krishna. Right? Yeah, that's right. And he has this kind of look on his face. Before he joined, his name was Bhakta Zut, which is a kind of Czechoslovakian name. He actually, when Czechoslovakia was under communist rule, he made some type of solo float boat, and what's the sea there? The Aegean Sea or something. He floated to freedom in Italy. And then he asked for asylum in the United States, and they sent him to Boston, and that's where he joined. So he was quite a colorful personality. And I remember Niranjana Swami's first Vyas Puja book in 1988. It was a collection of some of his first disciples and well-wishers. So he was in there, wrote a very flowery offering, and the picture of him was doing hatha yoga wearing a Speedo, like this, with a big hair, So anyway, so he was in Japan and he developed this incredible Sankirtan going out into the night spots where everybody's drinking and carousing and working from 8, 9 o'clock at night till 2 or 3 in the morning. And, like, he had like a flatbed kind of push truck, like if you put the U-line down, it was more flat, it was bigger area. And would wheel the books out, and what he would do, because the beginning of the day wasn't so good, they had to get a little more drunk before they, get more lubricated up so that they could easily, right. So he would like sit down in the middle of the area, and he would wear like these like airplane, ear things, and he had like a little Buddhist bell because it's Japan and like Buddhism. And he'd be reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, read each Bengali verse. Then he'd ring the bell, ding, and the translation. And and he put like a little donation kind of thing there, and he would just be reading and doing like this, and completely oblivious, and people would come up and like. And many would like just put donations to the thing because they have these little Shinto Buddhist shrines all over the place. And before you go out drinking, before you go to business, you're taking your girlfriend, and you come before the little Shinto shrine and throw a few coins or a few yen in there, So in that way, he would read an hour like that. Before starting, he would have like $60, $70.
Oh my God, that's ecstatic.
So that's an example of, the Yuga-dharma in terms of reading Shastra, how it accomplishes something.
That's about it. Go to the Harinam 12:30 and start.
You already do that in Times Square.
We're going to save the spot.
Taking the speakers with us.
No, you just put the thing, donation blessing, and then you can just read Bhagavatam, and between each verse ring a little, you get like a, yeah. Maybe the Oriental people at least would do that, So, while Atri Muni was engaged in these severe austerities, a blazing fire came out of his head by virtue of his breathing exercise, and that fire was seen by the 3 principal deities of the 3 worlds. According to Jiva Goswami, the fire of pranayam is mental satisfaction, which could be different than the fire that came out of the head of Hiranyakashipu when he was scorching the whole universe. The fire was perceived by the Supersoul Vishnu, and thereby Lord Brahma and Shiva also perceived it. So that's interesting. So Vishnu, the Supersoul, perceived it first, and thereby Brahma and Shiva perceived it secondarily. Atri Muni, by his breathing exercises, concentrated on the Supersoul, or the Lord of the Universe. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord of the Universe is Vasudeva. Vasudeva Sabarmati. And by the direction of Vasudeva, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva work. Therefore, how are we doing on the smoke coming up from the kitchen? I'm smelling it. Yeah, so somebody has to go down there and adjust things, Therefore, on the direction of Vasudeva, both Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva perceived the severe penance adopted by Atri Muni, and thus they were pleased to come down, as stated in the next verse. At that time, the 3 deities approached the hermitage of Atri Muni, accompanied by the denizens of the heavenly planets, such as the celestial beauties, the Gandharvas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, and the Nagas. Thus they entered the ashram. The great sage who would become famous by his austerities. So Prabhupada mentions here, it's advised in the Vedas that one should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the universe and the master of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. He is known as the Supersoul, and when one worships the Supersoul, all other deities such as Brahma and Shiva appear with Lord Vishnu because they are directed by the Supersoul. So here's a good supporting fact as to why we don't equate the name of Brahma and Vishnu with the holy name of Lord Vishnu. The sage was standing on one leg, but as soon as he saw that the three deities had appeared before him, he was so pleased to see them all together, and despite great difficulty approached them on one leg.
Oh my God.
Thereafter he began to offer prayers. I'm getting an even more amplified blast, right? Who were seated on different carriers, a bull, a swan, and Garuda.
Garuda.
So who's on who?
Vishnu is on Garuda, Shiva is on the bull, Brahma is on the swan.
Right. Who had held in their hands a drum, kusha grass, and a discus. The sage offered them his respects by falling down like a stick. Atri Muni was greatly pleased to see the three devas, that they were gracious towards him. His eyes were dazzled by the effulgence of their bodies, and therefore he closed his eyes for the same thing. So, the Lord can appear, but it's better that he appears with a devotional mentality. The Lord appeared as Lord Nrsingadev to kill Hiranyakashipu. The Lord appeared before Kamsa and ultimately killed him, but that's not favorable devotional service. So in the same way that, what is the fourth offense? To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. So the Mayavad interpretation or mangling or twisting and distorting of the Shastras is so offensive that it hastens the certain doom and destruction of the propounders and adherents of such philosophy, because it is completely offensive to the personality of Godhead. And one who adopts such philosophy more or less becomes insane. It's insanity. Insanity has nothing to do with reality. Atri Muni was greatly pleased to see that the three devas were gracious towards him. His eyes were dazzled by the effulgence of their bodies, and therefore he closed his eyes for the time being. But since his heart was already attracted by the deities, somehow or other he gathered his senses, and with folded hands and sweet words, he began to offer prayers to the predominating deities of the universe. So Lord Brahma, he's in charge of the mode of passion. Lord Shiva is in charge of the mode of ignorance. But a devotee appreciates the devotional service that they are doing and have done. Such as Lord Shiva, he's done so much devotional service for the Lord. And Vaishnava Yata Sambhu, he's known as the greatest Vaishnava, and we see that the Prachetas, they approached Lord Shiva because of his devotional his being a devotee of the Lord, not that he is Lord Shiva who can award them opulence in the material world. So in the same way, devotees are differently situated in different status, but we come together and relate with each other based on not the material acquisition or power or position, but based on the heartfelt, loving devotion. And as the topmost example of that, for example, can be understood in Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's Leelas, where different personalities, very great personalities, described that all the great demigods, they came in the guise of ordinary men. very great personalities, but they became, according to our estimation, not our estimation, but the estimation of society at large, regular personalities. Chaitanya Bhagavat says, just see the opulence of Kolavecha Sridhar, who was perhaps, externally the most poor, one of the most poor of the Lord's devotees. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva shed tears upon seeing his greatness.
Wow.
And Kolavecha Sridhar, I forget exactly, but he was one of the cowherd boys, Transcendental cowherd boys, Krishna and Balaram.
I
And there's,
think he was the, Krishna's friend who was very poor, that, Krishna had to, eat.
is that true? He was also Sudam, and who was his
I don't know.
Gurukul mate in Sandipani
Yeah,
Muni's
that's also
Gurukul.
Sudam Vipra.
I don't know.
Maybe, anyway. There's the book Gaur-Ganadesh Deepika, which gives the parallel understanding of all of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's deities, who they are in Krishna and Balaram's Leela also. Atri Muni said, O Brahma, O Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, you have divided yourself into three bodies by accepting the three modes of material nature, as you do in every millennium for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all of you, and beg to inquire whom of you three I have called by my prayer. The Lord must exist before the creation, otherwise how could he be its Lord? If someone constructs a big building, this indicates that he must have existed before the building was constructed. Therefore, the Supreme Lord, the Creator of the universe, must be transcendental to the modes of material nature. But it is known that Vishnu takes charge of the mode of goodness, Brahma passion, Shiva ignorance. Therefore, Atri Muni said, that Jagat Ishvar, the Lord of the universe, must be one of you, but since the three of you have appeared, I cannot recognize whom I have called. You are also kind. Please let me know who is actually Jagat Ishvar, the Lord of the universe. In fact, Atri Rishi was doubtful about the constitutional position of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, but he was quite certain that the Lord of the universe cannot be one of the creatures created by Maya. Yes, it's the impersonal Brahman, and Vishnu is a manifestation of the impersonal Brahman, ultimately Maya. Mayavad philosophy, demon philosophy, useless philosophy. His very inquiry about whom he had called indicates that he was in doubt about the constitutional position of the Lord. Therefore he prayed to all three, kindly let me know who is the transcendental Lord of the universe. He was certain, of course, that not all of them could be the Lord, but the Lord of the universe was one of the three. I called for the Supreme Personality of God, desiring a son like him, and I thought of him only, but although he is far beyond the mental speculation of man, all three of you have come here. Kindly let me know how you have come, for I am greatly bewildered about this.
Kolavecha Sridhar is a cowherd boy named Kusumasava, who joked with Krishna and made him laugh in his budget movie.
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya's pastimes is a learned Brahmana named Kolavecha Sridhar.
Upon hearing Atri Muni speak in this way, the three great deities smiled, and they replied in the following sweet words. Dear Brahman, you are perfect in your determination, and therefore, as you have decided, so it will happen. It will not happen otherwise. We are all the same person upon whom you were meditating, and therefore we have all come to you. Now you will have sons who will represent a partial manifestation of our potency, and because we desire all good fortune for you, those sons will glorify your reputation throughout the world. Thus, while the couple looked on, so Anasuya was also present, the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, disappeared from that place after bestowing upon Atri Muni the benediction. So we'll conclude with this. Thereafter, from the partial representation of Brahma, the moon god was born of them. From the partial representation of Vishnu, the great mystic Dattatreya was born. And from the partial representation of Shankar, Lord Shiva, Durvasa Muni was born.
Wow, I never knew that.
Now you may hear from me of the many sons of Angira. Shastam Atrer Apatyatvam Britta Prapto Nasuyaya Anvishikim Alarkaya Praladibdaya Uchivan. The sixth incarnation of the Purusha was the son of the sage Atri. He was born from the womb of Anasuya, who prayed for an incarnation. He spoke on the subject of transcendence to Alarka, Prahlad, and others, Yadu, Haihe, etc. Hare Krishna.
You were saying that the Mayavada philosophy is like demon philosophy, and I remember reading something like, everyone on the battlefield that got killed in the presence of Krishna, and all the demons that Krishna killed, or the demons that Krishna killed, they got like this Sayuja Mukti, which is like sought after by Mayavadis, and so essentially that means like the same. And then that was just a comment, and then the question I had was, so Dattatreya, so he's like a Shakti of Vaishnav avatar?
Dattatreya? Vishnu? What category of incarnation?
Get the chart out?
We have a chart.
You ordered it? Should order a chart. Just yeah.
I guess if there's any other questions.
Question.
You?
Yes.
Okay.
So we hear, about engaging whatever your psychophysical nature, devotional service. But now, on the other side of that, is it that we can neglect our psychophysical nature if we're just taken directly to the process and just forego or so much time wasted or
You do on the strength of self-realization. In other words, what is your real self? What are your, what is it? By serving the feet of these six Goswamis, all obstacles to devotion are removed and one's real desire is manifest. I have these desires, and and my mind is like this, and this is the illusory energy giving one a very good, plausible, patent excuse to not surrender to Krishna and engage more fully in devotional service. That could be one thing. And then on the other side, Varnashram, where everything is created, the Varnashram institution, and we're thus designated. So the Brahmins, they work a certain way, and the Vaishyas and Sudras, Kshatriyas, they have different natures. So the spiritual master is very expert in engaging a disciple in accord with those natures, and it's a progressive march to self-realization, completely pure. But for everyone, one and all, the Yuga-dharma of chanting Hare Krishna is the mainstay of devotional service in this day and age. Whether one can engage in it directly, fully, or one is supporting it with his body, mind, words, wealth, and reputation is another. So the bona fide acharya is expert in engaging everyone in that way. But the better part of valor is always to, as fully as possible, take to the direct devotional service. That's why it's so important to read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and associate with pure devotees in that way, because then we can uncover our devotional psychophysical nature, and we can leave aside the material psychophysical nature. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Comment. Remember, you're speaking.
I can't hear you. I'm going deaf. I can't hear you.
It's a comment. You're speaking of Garbhadhana Samskar.
Yeah. So,
Srila Prabhupada disciple, Haripad Prabhu and his wife, Halini Mataji, they both are Prabhupada disciples. And Haripad Prabhu personally told me he has a son and a daughter. He said that when they were conceiving the daughter, they performed the Garbhadhana Samskar properly, in the sense they chanted 50 rounds.
Yeah.
Each of them, and the daughter is a fixed up devotee. She's initiated. She's married to another initiated devotee.
Right.
And her son is also fixed up. So their grandson, and
They have a grandson by him.
by her. And but Haripad Prabhu's son, he said that when they conceived him, they did not chant 50 rounds, or particularly himself. He said he was not in the right state of mind.
Yeah.
And he said they did like 24 rounds. And he's kind of, in his words, he said he's a half-baked devotee.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
This
a
daughter
little amazed that 24 is, I mean, that's a lot of rounds. But still, the seriousness of the situation.
You see in the Bhagavatam how pregnancy of Diti in the evening, that it was an improper time and incorrect motivation, and what was the result? Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So Varna Sankar, unwanted population, comes when procreation is just done motivated out of sheer lust for sensual enjoyment. So
Is that only one question?
Okay, let's get the other question.
By Bhakta Ankit. He says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu strongly advises to stay away from Maya bodies. And he says that just hearing from them destroys our devotion to Krishna.
that's right.
I would like to know who is a fit candidate to defeat Mayavad philosophers. Are they the Madhya Adhikaris or the Uttama Adhikaris?
Madhyam or Madhyam should be able to do that. Madhyam, they're supposed to differentiate between the innocent and the demoniac. And they're very... the Uttamadhikari is ultimately the most expert. Madhyamadhikari is Uttam in practice. But the preacher, his faith shouldn't be soft and pliable. He should be able to quickly identify and be able to defeat with proper Shastric reference. Anything else?
So, you're speaking of Mayavad philosophy, and in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, specifically, his dealings with Mayavadis were particularly strong, to the point where he went to beat Advaitacharya.
Chanchal, get the chair from Mataji.
And specifically with Advaitacharya, and he didn't get so physical with Akashananda Saraswati or some of them about the Acharya. He just debated with them.
Mm-hmm.
But Advaitacharya, and also he was heavy with Kunda also.
Right.
They were devotees, and they were. Mukunda was expressing some. Could say being maybe non-judgmental or something like that, not properly discriminating. And Advaitacharya was giving more preference to Jnani than Bhakti.
Right.
Making the point that with knowledge that's how you can devotional service properly. And I mean, that the Lord Chaitanya was doing that to teach us, how to behave in this age and how to act.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the Lord Chaitanya taught in ways like that. So just a small comment.
Yeah, with Mukunda, it was that I banish him from my association, and so when will I be able to come back? Not for millions of births. Of course, that's like Leela between the Lord and his devotee, eternal pure devotee Mukunda. Say, I will, in millions of births, he will accept me, and the Lord at once accepted him back. In the case of Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya is always treating him as his respectable senior. And remember, Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur, they were dancing in ecstasy during the lunar eclipse on Falgun Purnim 1486 when the Lord appeared. So Advaita Acharya, because he is subordinate to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he devised a method by which he would get some chastisement. So the Lord Chaitanya would give up treating him with so much respect and senior etiquette. And when Lord Chaitanya understood that, so. But that's a surefire method to get punishment and chastisement from the Lord, is to sympathize and fraternize with Mayavad and Mayavad philosophy. Surefire way to get a big reaction, if that's what you want. All right. Thank you very much. Grantaraj, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Premanandi. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.